Hey guys, so if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen that I've put the back of the car on, put both the quarters and all that kind of stuff on, and got everything all mocked up and in place and pretty much close to where it'll live. I'm not going to say it's 100% where it's going to live because I've still got a little tweaking to do. But I stopped doing this because I had to order some parts, and looks like I'm going to have to get a little farther into this than I originally thought, just because, well, I bought a new one of these, and timing chain cover. Got this here. I've got my double roller timing chain over there, comp cams, and so I got to switch all this out. Well, looking at this, unless you guys tell me different, because like I said, I'm not a mechanic, I'm a body guy. So it looks to me like I'm going to have to pull the pan gasket, which would be part of this under here, which I don't know what I did with the other one. You can see part of this gasket here. Looks like that goes between the pan and the timing cover. So in my pan gasket is leaky, my rear main seal is leaking, so at this point I'm thinking, well, I might as well just go ahead and replace the pan gasket and the rear main seal while I'm doing all this. But so yeah, waiting on parts. I finally got some of the parts that I needed, so this is pretty much ready to go back together. I got to pick up some gaskets, my water pump gaskets, a few other things. Somebody said while you're at it, you might as well do this. Well, I've actually got an aluminum manifold for this. It's a Edelbrock brand new aluminum manifold. The problem is okay, at what point do you say, okay, let's just change the timing cover, put it back together, and be done with it? Because ultimately this has to be probably rebuilt, refreshed, painted, all that stuff eventually when I start to actually restore this vehicle, which will come after this one, which is going to be in 2050, I think, is when my plan for actually finishing this car. So yeah, but anyway, I just want to get this running again so I can drive it. Now I need it running because I need to get it out of the way, because now I've got this to where I can move it back out here and do some other things. So that's kind of where I'm at. So to go over this real quick, what I've done, kind of give you an idea. I've got all this set up to where my rockers are pretty much where they're going to live. I've got the panels in, and you can see the gaps here. That's really nice. That's really nice. I'm super happy with that. All the stuff in here is all fitting up really nicely. I still have my inner deals that I have to weld in there, but that's when I'm pull this back apart and do all that. I still do have to take the this piece here off and blast all that and clean inside, because it's been, it's got rust in there. One thing I was going to show you is this, and I might be beating a dead horse here, but I've seen videos where guys are, and you do what you want, it's your car, but I've seen videos where guys are cutting these panels up and patching stuff in and whatever. I guess maybe that's easier than I'm sure it is. I shouldn't even say that. I'm sure it's easier. But to me, this is the best fix. Now, of course, people aren't taking their cars down to this level, to this point or whatever. But and I've had my issues with aftermarket parts, but let me just say that this, I mean, okay, look at the gaps here. Now this is just clamped together. This actually will come in a little bit more, but look how freaking nice that is. I hope that's zooming in on that. I mean, this is my pinky finger. That's just super freaking nice. This one here, across here, all this still needs to be clamped. Oh, I guess I actually did. So yeah, I mean, these are aftermarket panels just clamped into place. This is, you know, so while we piss and moan about the aftermarket parts, I really can't complain. That's amazing. Now on Daryl's car, I had to come in here. You guys saw that. I had to come in here and add rod and get the gaps all, you know, fixed up and whatever. That's not the case on these. These are AMD panels. These are all fitting together really nicely. So the only issue that I'm having right now, and it's not a big issue, you can see up there I've got some writing and marks and stuff. My thought is this needs to be turned a little bit this way, which means I've got to probably bend that flange a little bit to get it to give me a little bit more, because the gap here is tight here and then it gets bigger as it goes up, and it's, you can see it's just my pinky. But if I could get it to go just a little bit more, I think that would make it sit right like it needs to sit. And you can see I've got a little bit of a gap right here that needs to come down. And I don't want to just bash that down with a hammer or whatever. I actually want to try to get it where it's supposed to be. So being able to manipulate that flange a little bit and get this to where I can actually maybe get it to rock forward a little bit. Hopefully that will fix that. I haven't had time to mess with it today, doing yard work and all kinds of stuff. But everything is really looking nice. It's fitting together. Floor, everything. So I'm real happy with it. Now, you know, I cut the bars here. I'm going to cut this bar off. I'm going to fit the doors, but I'm going to try to get this core panel rocked up a little bit better, and then fit the doors and see how all that is looking in the gaps and that type of deal. And then I'll figure out how I want to go about marking this to be able to put it back together, which more than likely I'm going to use my same method that I did with these, and I'll figure out a way, you know, to come in here and, you know, do like that. This needs to be, you know, but like I said, it's just all sitting. It's just in there with clamps. I can take this back apart in about 10 minutes. So, although it took me longer than 10 minutes to get it this way. But once I get it where I want it and everything's looking good and all the measurements are right and everything's lined up, and it, you know, then I can again go ahead and start doing some final fitment. And I haven't got a welder yet. Still haven't, you know, it's going to be $1,300 probably. So I haven't pulled that trigger yet. So I still have to weld these. So if that looks funny, that's because that needs to go up, and it will go up and stay up like that one did, because this one is welded together. So it'll actually look like that. But yeah, all new. Everything, frame rails, floor, trunk pan, rockers, pretty much everything on this car is going to be new. The roof, I've got the roof is over in the other garage. I'm considering going ahead and pulling that off too. Once I get all this lined up, marked up, and get it final bolted together basically, I'm seriously considering yanking that roof panel and going ahead and dropping that new roof on there. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to blow this thing back apart, and I've got to take this upper structure and the inner frame structure, which does have some rust on it. Same with this deck filler. I've got a new deck filler panel, but if you were to look up in there, inside that deck filler, there's some surface rust. Well, I'm going to pull that deck filler panel off, and then when I have just a skeleton, just a bare skeleton, you can kind of see the mini tubs. But when I have the bare skeleton, I'm going to take it outside, and I'm going to blast that whole skeleton completely clean and then epoxy it, and that way I won't have all that media stuck all in my every crevice and in the floors and all the other stuff. So yeah, all the frame of the top and everything will get blasted and then epoxy primered, and then I can fit all these pieces back on and build it like, say, a Dynacorn car would be, using my jig, put it all back together. So anyway, that's the plan for now. You know, this really, it really comes together pretty fast. So once I get everything set in place, I mean, it's just, yeah, I'll have a lot of welding to do. I'll have a lot, you know, it'll take a while to get everything welded together, but I mean, once I'm there, the car is pretty much done. I mean, as far as the body goes, as far as putting it back together, getting everything put where it needs to be, it's all going to be one color. And then I need to get suspension, my rear end set up and all that kind of stuff for it. I'd like to go ahead and at least get a mock motor, something out of a salvage yard or something that I can put weight on a suspension, which I need to get the front DSC suspension, which that's another freaking $8,000 or so probably, before I actually do final fitment of all my panels. I'd like to get it on the way to the suspension. So, and then figure out, okay, what I need to do for the 6-speed, because I may have to, or no, I'm going to have to do something in here to extend that up. So, and that may be something I need to look at right now, while it's in this stage, you know, going ahead and putting that extended hump in there, you know, go ahead and cut that out while it's like this before I start epoxying the whole thing, you know. But go up with it. I haven't been under this car. I've been under it for quite a while. Ow. That's probably why, because I hit my head all the time. I've got this on here, and that's actually squeezing my rails together. This floor pan needs to come down. I noticed that the other day when I was putting this in. This rocker's where it's supposed to be. The floor pan actually needs to be pulled down some, and I'll have to do that. And it does have a little bit of a wiggle room to pull down, so that's a good thing. You can see all my, where my torque boxes meet my frame rails are all looking pretty good. I had to pull this, I had to suck this one back because there was a gap. So I pulled all that back in the beginning to make sure these stayed up against this, because I kept having problems when I was pulling on that. It kept pulling away from this frame rail. And of course, you can't have that, so. Yeah, but all this will still have to come apart and be re-welded and fixed. So I know a lot of people are coming. It's nice to see it come back together. It's coming back together and going apart like at least a couple more times probably. So, but the good thing is each time I've got these, you know, little little holes that I can go right back in right where it's supposed to be. Of course, when that's final welded, those will just be zipped up real quick. So no big deal. I did have a lot of comments on how thin these are. If you didn't hear on one of the videos before, you need to understand that this box right here, that's at least an 1/8 inch thick. That box actually will go through my trunk right through here and tie these frame rails together. And then there's also stuff with the Quadralink system that'll weld onto these frames to make this really strong. So it'll be a pretty badass little system. But yeah, I thought I'd give you a quick once over while it's like it is. Whoops. You can see here it's fitting together nicely. All this stuff is fitting together. If you guys see anything I'm forgetting or missing or whatever that I haven't thought about, you know, holler. I think I feel like I'm ahead of the game, but you know, there's always stuff you can miss. Still, I hadn't put that piece in there. I need to put it underneath and clamp it, but I was just trying to fit that in there to see how that was going to fit up. So, but yeah, man, that's so nice. It just is, and I just can't. I can't tell you how happy I am with the fitment of these parts. Maybe I got lucky. I don't know, but this whole setup, all coming from one manufacturer, which is mostly AMD. I think there's a couple of things that didn't come from them, but for the most part, it's all AMD, and they really did. They really did a pretty good job. Is it perfect? No, but I really cannot complain. So, yeah. So there you go. Hopefully when I put the doors on, everything lines up. My body line hopefully is fairly, you know, straight. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. So yeah, lots of welding coming. Lots of little pieces like these seatbelt deals I have to weld in here still. I literally still have to take these frame rails completely off and run epoxy up inside those because there's still areas that I, you know, up above where I welded that I left bare. So I'm going to have to flip that over and run epoxy through there to make sure everything gets coated inside those frame rails. So yeah, there's a ton of work still to do, but it is very rewarding to put it back together to this point. And like I said, you're looking at, you know, a couple hours maybe to get this whole thing. Probably, literally, if it wasn't for, you know, having to use a Allen head in these or whatever, this car would come back apart in probably less than an hour. Completely back down to taking the frame rails off, and you know, I mean, it's just a little puzzle. So, but this frame jig, man, I can't tell you how important that is, and how grateful I am to Kevin for telling me I needed to not put this on a rotisserie to try to restore this car, because this car was in such bad shape, and also being a unibody, it was all twisted and everything else, and if I would have tried to fit it back together, it would have been a mess. It would have been a mess, and if I'd have pulled the panels off on this, it would have just probably just ruined the car. Probably would have bent it to where I could never get it back straight. So this frame jig is absolutely life-saving for this car. But what was I going to do? I was going to pull this back down real quick, and what I was going to say, I was going to show you something else. Oh yeah, I've got to get, that's one thing I got to get off my other trunk deal. Let's get this, the deal that fits here for my latch. Yeah, all this stuff, man, it really just is so nice. This needs to come down a little bit more, but these gaps here, I mean, really, that's beautiful. And the, you know, those will come in a little bit more. And like I said, I've got a new panel here that I'm going to replace this one. And the only reason I'm replacing it, well, besides the fact that there's a rust hole right there, is that I can't really access inside there to blast that like it needs to be blasted. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it off, and I've already bought the other panel, and I'll go ahead and blast all that and re-epoxy everything inside there. So what I'm after is this car being like a brand new car. I mean, every part of it will be coated and protected and the whole thing. So, and it'll be something I can be proud of, you know, because I built every single piece of this thing, you know, and fixed some major body damage over there. And of course the rails being bent and tweaked and everything else. So I had dropped this for a reason, and I don't remember what it was. I was going to show you guys something, but now I can't remember. But huh. Still need to grind all that stuff down flat, all those welds. But yeah, I'll be able to blast all up in there and get all that garbage out of there. Up inside, on the upside part of this, we'll get the, I can blast and get in between there. So yeah, got all this stuff measured up to where it's right, fitting really nicely. That still has to be welded in, so it's just kind of sitting in there. But yeah, super pumped. Well, I made this video way longer than I was going to, or thought I was going to. But yeah, just give you a quick once over of what I got going on here. And this is up in there is what I'll be able to blast and get all that pitting and all that stuff out of there and get that sealed up when I rip this top off. So that'll be nice. And of course I'll take all the red off of it and all that kind of stuff. All right. That's another thing I need to order, which I didn't think about. I need to get my door rubbers and stuff, because on this one I want to go ahead and put the rubbers in before I start doing the body work and get the doors adjusted and right where they're gonna stay, and then put the whole car together. Then I'm gonna